Hey guys, what's going on? Let's see, I think I am about 5 minutes early. So I'm gonna hang out here, probably check the time in just a second. And I did set my alarm because those that know me know that I love to talk. And when I have a subject that I'm super excited about, I tend to get on my soapbox a little bit. So your girl has set an alarm. So I set an alarm. I'm not going to try to keep you guys for too long. I think I set my alarm for about 40 minutes. So I'm super excited for you guys joining me. But like I said, I love to chat. I love to talk. So I did set an alarm because time is precious and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I did get on here a little early because also, if you know me really well, I dance to pretty much my own beating my drum, and typically I just show up on my time. But this is a training and we have to be here at a specific time. So that's why I got here a little bit early, so that way we could get all settled in. Thank you guys for jumping on. Make sure and say hello. I'm so excited. Thank you, Wendy, for having me. I'm currently doing this from my phone, so I'm going to adjust it real quick before we actually get started, because I don't typically do lives or anything like this on my phone anymore. It's all for my tablet, but my tablet's giving me issues. So that's kind of ties into tonight's topic, right? Because tonight's topic, we're talking about pivoting our business. All right, so let's see. We got about a couple more minutes. Actually, we got about 3 minutes, so we could chat it up. So hope you guys are having a good night so far. Cannot believe that November is coming to an end. Pure insanity. But I'm super excited to have you guys here. It looks like we got a couple more minutes. Oh, I see some of my friends are joining. How exciting. And if you guys didn't already know this too, my favorite word is pivot. Like, pivot's my theme for this year, for sure. Hashtag pivot. So I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that or not. But that, fun fact, I almost wore my pivot shirt tonight because I have a shirt that literally says pivot. And life happens, and I didn't even get to the laundry yet. So I think most of y'all, hopefully somebody can relate to that. Laundry is just sitting there. It is what it is. But I wanted to wear my pivot shirt tonight, but it is dirty, so it's all good. We're just going to roll with it. Let's see. Alrighty. But thanks again, Wendy, for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you guys tonight. I love this group. I love the variety that's in here for sure. This is nice. Alrighty. Let's see. I think I'll probably go ahead and get started because we literally only have about 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm actually going to leave the comments because I don't think the comments are really going to bother me. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. For those of y'all that do not know me, my name is Megan Clark, and I'm so excited again to be here. I guess a little bit about me, long story short, most of y'all, you might have already seen my bio. Can't talk tonight, but if you have not, just pretty much sum it up. So I joined 2019, October 2019, and a little fun thing about me is that I did not know what Scentsy was at all. Didn't even know what Scentsy was. I joined 2019. I worked for a retail store for close to about 7 years. And as y'all might have seen, how I found out about Scentsy is I had a party for a friend. It went really well. Still didn't know what Scentsy was, but she sent me a shopping link. I got super excited about picking out some free half-price stuff for myself, even though I had no idea what I was getting into with the products because I was a candle person. So we all know how that goes. And so I got all my goodies. But while I was shopping, I was being nosy and I saw that join link. So I scrolled on down. I checked out the join video. That honestly is what sold me, y'all. Because again, I had no idea what Scentsy was. But when I saw the video spoke to me personally. You know, when I worked through the retail store that I did, I eat, breathe, sleep the retail job, especially as an assistant manager, but I was running a management job. So that meant I was working 50 plus hours. I was miserable at my job. I pretty much could have just slept there. But I just needed something to where I could pretty much just unplug and something that was just going to bring me a little bit of joy, even though I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But I clicked join just for fun, and the rest is history. So to 2020, I went from my retail job, and I taught for close to about a year, and that was an interesting situation. So kudos to those that are out there in Scentsy land that are also teachers. God bless you guys. I did it. I tried it. I found out it just wasn't for me. So from that point on, I was still selling Scentsy. And, you know, the thing is for me is that the last couple years have been a roller coaster. The last couple years for me, let's see, so 2020, my husband and I, Derek, we had been married for 4 years now. So, well, we know each other like 15 plus years, but we've been married for 4 years. So in 2020, we got married. Yeah, so we got married before 2019. And 2020 is when we had decided to try to start having a family. So, you know, here I am working a Scentsy business. Not to mention the fact that a couple months into me joining, my first team member joined, and it was kind of like payback, because when I joined, my sponsor didn't know, and my sponsor, come to find out, had literally just joined. So she didn't have any idea what she was doing. I didn't have any idea what I was doing, right? So here we are a couple months later. My first team member joined. I was like, what did you do? She was like, well, I need Scentsy in my life. And I clicked join, and here we are. So I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do this together, because I don't know what I'm doing and you don't know what you're doing, but we're going to figure this out together, right? I was seriously about like 3 or 4 months into joining. It was insanity. So in the midst of trying to figure out what that was, as far as me sponsoring somebody, and at the same time balancing my work life, because at the time I had not quit my full-time job. I was still working. Just a couple of odd-end jobs here and there. So I had that, balancing the fact that I was building my team, even though at the time I still did not know what that was. 2020, I was like, you sponsor, and, you know, this is what they tell us to do. And I'm just going to roll with it. You know, I still have no idea what I'm doing. But as time went through that year, I was balancing trying to conceive and the whirlwind of emotions through that. And especially when you don't really have like a support system through that, it's very difficult and it's very lonely. So, you know, here I was showing up nonstop for my team, right? And that to me, and let's not forget to throw in the fact that I struggle with depression, right? Those that know me personally, they'll tell you, like, I'm an upbeat, bubbly person, but I feel like that because of the background that I have and the job experiences that I've had, that has really truly taught me how to turn it on, right? If we have retail experience, not even retail, but if we have any kind of network experience, any kind of experience where we've had personal contact with people, a lot of us have that ability to turn it on, right? At the flip of a switch, turn it on. And that's where I feel like that I was, is because here I was struggling day to day with depression, and, you know, struggling by, and what I mean by that is just taking it one day at a time, possibly even like an hour at a time, because when you're struggling with depression, we're talking like it's hard enough to get out of bed. It's hard enough to shower. Brushing my teeth was a huge task for me on a day-to-day basis, and a big win. So if I could just get out of bed and brush my teeth, and maybe if I was lucky enough to wash my hair, that was a huge thing for me. So here I was balancing, you know, struggling with depression for pretty much since I was a teenager. So we're talking 16, 17 plus years. On top of, you know, trying to conceive, not having a support system on top of that. And here I was showing up every single day for my team, you know, doing this, getting on training. And it was hard because what was going on outside my doors was something that no one should ever experience, right? The struggles of depression, the struggles of infertility, everything else, right, that we go through personally. And then on top of that, here I am coming into an office and I have to turn it on for my team members. You know, I have to be spot on. I have to be positive. I have to be present. And, you know, what I realized through 2020 was that even though my team and my business was at an all-time success and it was just moving right along, I found that I personally struggled with being myself authentically and giving myself the grace and the time that I needed to possibly take time off. If it meant a day, if it meant more than a day, I did find that channeling what I was experiencing and feeling through social media had helped through that time. So if that's something that you've experienced or you're currently going through, whatever the case may be, I found that posting something as simple as a positive quote that you get off of Pinterest is not that simple. It's not simple for somebody who's in the struggle bus, like I was on the struggle bus, but that was just a way for me to connect with my team or for me to connect with my customers and just let them know, like, hey, I'm here, I'm present. But sometimes it's important for us to just do what we can do with the time that we have. And I found that I thought that I had to be somebody, I had to be 100% right. Like I had to be positive all the time. And I had to be a strong leader. I had to be there for everybody, because when your team is growing and when your business is growing, you're constantly trying to catch up and catch up and catch up. And then, you know, there's the possibility of burnout. So for me, and we all know 2020, like in our business, I don't know about you guys, but 2020 was incredible for me. 2020, I could barely keep up. Like shipment was coming in like crazy. But here's the thing, is that because of that, I threw myself into my business. And I mean that in the most positive way possible, because Scentsy, even though I didn't know what it could possibly get to at this point, what the possibility of it was, what it could have provided for me, it changes every year for sure. But 2020 for me, Scentsy gave me, it was constant for me, because everything outside of my office doors, I had no control over, right? I had no control over. I was living pretty much day to day. I didn't know what to expect. My emotions were all over the place. My marriage was all over the place, you know, trying to conceive. So then rolling from basically into 2020, 2021, thankfully, my husband is now 2 years, little over 2 years sober. So thanks be to God on that. But during the time that we were trying to conceive, we were also, as a couple, channeling his sobriety. And it wasn't always like that. And, you know, here I was basically balancing all of these things on my shoulders, all of these different roles, you know, managing a household, navigating what it looks like being married to a spouse in sobriety, processing the fact that I could possibly never conceive, never have a baby, still having a team that's still growing, because just because things are happening in our lives and going crazy doesn't always necessarily mean that our business is going to stop, right? That our teams are going to stop growing. And my favorite word is pivot, because everything that I've come to up until that point, I've had to pivot. So my office, my Scentsy business was my safe haven. And it's a little hard for me to wrap my mind around, and no respect to those who are the opposite, you know, because life happens. We're different people. We handle things differently. But it's hard for me sometimes to grasp when things hit the roof like they do, right? And there are individuals who walk away from the business, or they put their kit down, as we like to say. I don't understand that. I can't, it's hard for me to grasp that, because for me, again, Scentsy was that constant. Scentsy has given me not only the confidence that I needed in myself, but it's a morale booster. It's provided me multiple ways for me to not only express myself creatively, but to meet new people that I could relate to, that could pour into me as well. It was something that I could depend on. It was steady for me. And I truly feel like that's what's helped me navigate through my struggle with my depression as well, is because even though with my depression, I don't know what each day is going to look like. So that's why I have to take it one day at a time. I now know it's important when I wake up every morning to do a self-check with myself and just basically just check in with myself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, you name it. And that's going to navigate what my days look like, right? But it's incredible because Scentsy has been able to give me that sense of stability because it was constant. You know, I had systems in place. There were things that I knew I could predict for the next month. So it was something that constantly fed into me. It was my cheerleader when I didn't have anybody else in my life, in my inner circle, friends and family for quite a while. I didn't have anybody cheering me on. So Scentsy was that support and cheerleaded me along the way, which was special. So the last 2 years of my business, my success, 100%, I can definitely connect it to online parties. Online parties was my niche. I loved it. I was super successful with it. I was one of those people that was fortunate enough to have a host that would host 1 month, and then I would have multiple hosts in the month, and I would have people just rolling off of those parties and hosting into the next months. So for sure, majority of my success has been in the last 2 years of my business, online parties. But here's the thing. In the last year, I've noticed a huge shift. There goes that magical word pivot again, where I've had to pivot in my business. Everything that I thought I knew over the last couple years is no more. Like, don't get me wrong. Parties are still there. Parties are great. But I noticed a shift in my personal business with my own customers, and everything that has worked for me for the last 2 years just wasn't no more. Thankfully, this last year, especially after my husband has been sober, you know, and we've been on definitely a better path now, where it's so interesting for me, and it's incredible to look back and reflect on, because the last couple years of my business, I poured myself into Scentsy. And what I mean pouring into my business was there was no NCAT. There was no office hours for me. Yes, my team and my customers knew office hours, but I did not. I had no boundaries, y'all. Sun up, sun down, I was always in my office. Sorry, I gotta fix my camera real quick. I feel like it's about to fall. But sun up, sun down, Scentsy was my life. And not necessarily in a bad way, not at the time. And I feel like it was a good distraction, to be honest. But what's interesting for me, shifting from 2020 into 2021, that's when I was constantly like, there was no break. There was no, like I said, there were no boundaries for me. I just gave it my all. And yes, what I've earned and my success, like everything that my, certificates and what I've earned and been rewarded, all that reflects that. But what I realized is that I wasn't focusing on myself, and I wasn't focusing on my marriage like I should have been. I wasn't, like I said, there wasn't any boundaries there. So going into now, 2022, through an incredible amount of therapy, and I love therapy, by the way. I'll do my little plug-in. Honestly, it's the best thing. I used to be in therapy, and I put that down for quite a while. But recently, I think within the last year and a half, I've seen my therapist, and I honestly don't think I'm going to go back. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that. I don't think I'm going to stop doing it. Because my therapist, I feel like, is the person that I can actually talk to about my business and things that I'm going through. And it has helped me tremendously. So there's that. But this last year, I've learned to pivot. And what I mean by that is thinking outside the box. I'm going to make sure, and I might be talking pretty fast because I'm like, I got a lot of time. Hopefully y'all can catch up and understand me with my southern accent. But, Scentsy, sorry y'all, my camera's trying to fall again. I have it like on one of those ring lights. Let's see, hopefully it doesn't fall. And if you are commenting, I don't see the comments, so hopefully I can see the comments when I'm done. But yeah, so this last year, I've learned to pivot. I do online parties every now and then, but I have found that getting a little bit creative, y'all, I'm sorry, give me a second. This is going to drive me crazy. So I get a tour of my office. Okay. So this is what we're doing. I'm just going to hold my phone at this point. So, yeah, where was I? So this last year, I have learned to pivot. And I have learned that it is important to silence our phones, that's for sure, sorry. So I have learned that it's important to have boundaries. And it's very important, and there's nothing wrong with getting help for ourselves. This year alone, I have learned to actually have office hours and stick to them. I have learned that it's okay to silence your messages. It's okay to silence, and this is Facebook messages, this is text messages, y'all. It's good to have healthy boundaries. And that's what I had to do for myself, is I had to set boundaries. And that is honestly, hands down, the best thing I could ever do for myself. Thanks to the incredible Jackie Duran. She has taught me that it's important to delegate what you're doing in your business each day. And what I mean by that, and I think she has an incredible training, by the way, on YouTube about this, is that I love what I've done and she has talked about, is I have delegated pretty much for 5 days of the week. I have about 1 to 2 things that I do, and that's it. And every day has a different theme. And that has really helped me, because now that my husband and I are in a healthier place with our marriage, I'm in a healthier place for myself mentally and physically, I'm able to delegate what I need to do in my business. And once it's done, it's done. It doesn't flow into the wee hours of the night like it used to. Because like I said earlier, Lord, y'all, like I wouldn't even know sun up to sundown because I was always in my office. But, you know, that was what I needed over the last couple of years. But now my life is so different that I now want to take the time outside of my office. And I don't want my life to entirely revolve around Scentsy anymore. Like, I want to be the opposite. Like, I want to have my personal life, and then I want Scentsy to basically be like the sprinkle in that. And so delegating 1 to 2 things that I'm doing in my business per day, on top of setting boundaries with my team, having set business hours, silencing my messages, like I said, through text, through Facebook Messenger. It's incredible. It was hard to do in the beginning, but it has helped me tremendously, because now it's like my phone is not going to dictate when to check my messages. I get to decide when I check my messages. And it's a bit of adjustment, because my friends and family sometimes think that I might be ignoring them, but I'm not. And it's just because I just don't see their messages, but just respecting those boundaries. This year has been very interesting, because like I was saying earlier, the last couple years for me, you know, was all Facebook parties, online parties for the most part. But this last year has been a lot of fun, because I've definitely had to get out of my comfort zone and grow big time. Y'all, there are things in my personal life that I'm very much okay with pivoting. You're going to hear me say that a lot tonight, because that's my favorite word for this year. But you know, in my personal life, it's very easy for me to change it up and try something different. But what's interesting is with my Scentsy business, I guess I just got so set in my ways and so comfortable over the last 2 years that I was not ready for change. And what I realized at the beginning of this year was that I needed to embrace that. And it felt uncomfortable. I wasn't happy. I went kicking and screaming. But I realized is that just like in any industry, in any business that you're in, anywhere that you work, you constantly have to be renewing yourself, right? You have to try things that are different. Get out of your way. You have to think differently. You have to think outside the box. Try things. If it makes you uncomfortable, odds are you're going to grow from it. And what is that saying? If you don't, what is it? Like, if you don't grow up, you don't go up. Something like that. Like, if you don't, that's what it is. If you don't show up, you don't go up. And that's what it is that it's important for us to honor. And I would tell you, honor and respect yourself. Like, be fully aware of what's going on with yourself mentally and physically. And give yourself permission to have days to where you're not going to do anything. And I know for a lot of us, including myself, it was super hard to do that. But in the long run, yourself and your team and your loved ones, your family, will appreciate that in the long run. They'll appreciate you for doing that. And that's what I find for me is that now that I have boundaries, now that I've been able to, figure out what works for me, it's really helped me along the way. And for me to be able to delegate small things that I'm doing each day, it is nice because if I wake up the next day and I'm not having the best day and I'm in a funk, I'm in, battling with my depression, those days are not so pretty, let's be honest. And, that because I do little things here and there through the day, the next day, if that's what it looks like for me, it's okay because I don't have as much pressure on myself. I'm not giving myself as much pressure, to have to get all the things done because I'm like, okay, I can do this tomorrow. I think it's important for us to be able to take that time out for ourselves. And I will say too, that one thing that really was important for me, especially this last year, is being vulnerable. And I would say for sure, being vulnerable in the right place at the right time. And what I mean by that is being aware of those that it's a safe space, in other words. So for my team, there were certain times that I was supposed to, let's just say go live and train. And I just wasn't having the best day, right? So I would have to post, and I just was honest. I'd get on my team page and just say, hey you guys, I know I was going to go live tonight, but something came up. I'm just going to need to take some time off for myself. And not to say that I wouldn't do anything, but that's where you can go on YouTube and you can copy and paste somebody else's training and share that in your team page. There's no shame in that. There's so many people out there in Cincy Lane, you guys, that have an incredible amount of information and gifts that they want to share with everybody, right? So even if there's a time that even a season, let's be honest, because for some of us, including myself, sometimes it's not just a day, sometimes it's a season, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's a week where we're just not feeling it. And that's fine. Because if you are letting your team know, like, hey, you know what, y'all, I'm really having a tough week and I'm just going to have to take a step back. That's when, if you're honest, you're going to be more relatable to them. Because that's what I realized, when I first, I guess it was about 2020, when I felt like that I couldn't be that way with my team. Because if I allowed them in on the not so pretty parts, I was so worried and concerned that I was going to be perceived as weak, that I was going to be perceived as not a good leader, that I was going to let them down, that I wasn't enough. I mean, that's pretty heavy in itself, right? Like the feeling of like that we're not enough. But, it took me almost a year to realize that it's important for me to not only show up when I can, but to be transparent and be honest with my team. Because that's where, like I said earlier, you're going to be more relatable. I realized that it wasn't important for me to show up every single time for them and pretend like everything is great and everything is fine. I know that even on my VIP group over the last 2 years, I about every other weekend or so on Sunday or Saturday would go live in my VIP group. And I would just have a heart-to-heart with them. Now, not to say I would necessarily want to word vomit per se, but I did want my VIPs to know that I'm a real human being, that I have feelings, that I have emotions, that I go through things. We all go through things. And that's where, again, you can be more relatable. A lot of times it's hard for me to, especially when I'm going through, if I'm struggling with my depression, not having the greatest of days, going through a season of mourning, through sadness, because I'm sure we all can relate to that at one time or another. Because that, let's be honest, like that creeps up like no other, right? Like, wouldn't it be great if like mourning or, just sadness in general, like if those feelings could just let us know ahead of time, like, hey, this is when we'd like to schedule it with you. Wouldn't that be nice? Instead of it just creeping up on you at the worst time, because that's what I feel like happens. But again, my favorite word, pivot. When that does happen, It's important for us to pivot, and it's important for us as individuals, you know, whether you're a leader, whether you're, you know, a new consultant with Scentsy, it's important for you to, you know, delegate again time for yourself and respect that. And, you know, your friends, your family members, your customers, they're going to honor that because we're only human. And that's what I've realized, is that as long as I show up as being authentically me and not apologizing for it, that's where you're going to find your people. That's where you're going to find your tribe. Those people are going to gravitate towards you because you're being authentically yourself. And I found that what's interesting for me over the last couple of years is that not only do I have those around me that now are more relatable to me more than ever because they've got to know me on a personal, deeper level, but I've gained new friends through Scentsy because of it. And, you know, we're connected in so many different ways. And, you know, I know now that by sharing my story, by sharing my struggles over the last couple of years, with my own personal life, with my marriage, that it's tremendously helped me grow. I'm a lot stronger because of it. I don't even recognize myself sometimes. And I mean that in the best way possible, because I mean, when I joined Scentsy in 2019, you guys, I was lost. I was in a dark place. I was not happy. In fact, I was very miserable, and I barely was just hanging in there. It's like, I like to say I was there, but I wasn't there. And, you know, the last couple of years for me has just tremendously brought me through a lot. And I'm just so blessed, and I'm so fortunate to be able to not only have the team members that I do, all throughout the U.S., which is really cool, by the way, but also to have incredible friends through this business who I can do life with, who will stand in the gaps for me and pray for me and be there for me, that have my back no matter what, that get me, that love my quirkiness. It's definitely been a journey, but if you're not in the best of place right now, whether it's in your business, whether it's mentally, just be patient. Be patient in the waiting. That's what I can tell you. That's my advice for you guys. If you're in that season, just give it time. Don't give up on yourself. It's so important for us to, like I'm doing now, like it's so important for us to reflect back on the time that you have. Even if you just recently joined Scentsy and you're a brand new consultant, think back on the last couple years, because I guarantee you, all of us have come a long way from where we were, right? All of us have come a long way. But that's pretty much it. That's about my spiel. I guess the last couple things before I wrap it up, I guess I talked pretty fast because I thought it was a little bit later than that. But yeah, but this year, just to wrap it up, has been a year of pivoting. Just a couple of things that I've changed in my business that have been a lot of fun is when I joined in 2019, we didn't do home parties. And I tried to do home parties in the beginning, but I just don't find that that's my thing right now. But I have found by one of my good friends, she has suggested meeting at a restaurant. So that's actually been really cool. So do that once a month. So that definitely actually helps me a lot with getting out of the house and for me to branch out a little bit and to have fun and switch things up. That along with like a text party. I started that recently. But like I said, just pivoting. Recently thinking outside the box and connecting with people that I go to on a day-to-day basis and can share products with. Like, for example, as y'all can tell, my hair is a lot shorter than it used to be. My hair used to be a lot longer, but I see a barber now. So when I go to him about, I don't know, every 4 to 6 weeks-ish, he has a Scentsy warmer from a previous consultant. So I actually got hooked up with him. And he orders from me pretty much every time I go in for my appointment. So that is way out of my comfort zone because for one, I never thought I'd see myself at a barber. And for two, the fact that I can help him with having his, shop smell good is awesome. The other thing that I recently did too was finding new, new events that I can be a vendor at. So not like your typical places that you would set up. That's been a lot of fun. But just trying new fun things. That's what I want to tell you guys, because we're ending 2022 soon, right? I know that nobody wants to hear that, but we're hitting 2022 soon. And going into the new year, I am challenging you to try something new. Try something outside of the box. Challenge yourself to do something fun. Maybe something that's making you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Because what I said, if you heard me in the beginning, if it's making you feel uncomfortable, it means that you're going to grow from it, right? And just try something, because that's the beauty of this business, you guys, is we have an opportunity to pretty much do almost anything that we want with this business, almost anything. And it's like a blank slate, right? It's a blank slate. Like, there's so many opportunities for you to try and do something different. And I suggest just trying finding one thing, because I know we want to do all the things. If you're like me, squirrel brain, I want to do all the things, but try one thing and see if it works. I would say give it about 6 weeks-ish, maybe a few months, and see if it works. And if not, put a pin in it. Maybe it's not meant to be for that time, and then try something new. But I thank you guys so much for joining me on this live. Thank you so much, Wendy, for having me. I hope you guys have an incredible night. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Turkey Day. I hope you'll have a great week ahead, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys. Have a good night.